49. That's how many cars Jaguar sold across all of Europe in a single recent month. Not 49,000. Not 4,900, only 49. For a brand with more than a century of history, that number isn't just low, it's symbolic. Because this didn't happen by accident. There was no sudden factory disaster, no global recall, no regulatory ban. Jaguar chose this. They stopped selling cars, pulled nearly every model from the market, let showrooms sit empty. And now they're betting their future on a small number of ultra-luxury electric vehicles, with prices rumored to be far higher than anything Jaguar has historically sold. Cars most people haven't seen. From a brand that's been largely absent from public conversation. So this isn't just a story about declining sales. It's about one of the boldest decisions a legacy brand has ever made. Can a company survive by intentionally stepping away from its customers when legacy becomes a trap? For much of the 20th century, Jaguar wasn't just relevant, it was aspirational. The brand built cars that combined beauty, speed, and prestige. Vehicles that won races and appeared in films. Cars driven by politicians, celebrities, and cultural icons. Jaguar represented a certain kind of confidence, quiet luxury, effortless status. Its most famous models became design references for generations. Jaguar didn't need to explain itself. People already believed. But that belief eventually became a weakness. Because legacy can turn into insulation, protecting a brand from criticism, but also from reality, as markets changed. Customer expectations shifted, and competition intensified. Jaguar leaned increasingly on its past, and the future started slipping away. The cost of loyalty. Jaguar's early problems weren't about vision. They were about consistency. Build quality became unpredictable. Ownership costs climbed. Reliability stories spread. But sales didn't collapse immediately. Customers stayed loyal. Because the name still carried weight. That loyalty bought Jaguar time. But it also delayed hard decisions. When customers tolerate flaws because of brand affection, companies often mistake patience for approval. Innovation slows. Urgency fades. By the time Jaguar realized younger buyers had moved on, the gap was already wide. Luxury brands depend on renewal. Without new customers, prestige quietly erodes. A strategic fix that missed the core. When Ford acquired Jaguar, the intention wasn't to erase its identity. It was to scale it, compete globally, modernize production, expand the lineup. Ford studied successful luxury competitors and focused on one idea: accessibility, smaller models, lower prices, higher volume. The logic was sound. The execution wasn't. New models arrived that technically filled market gaps, but emotionally didn't feel authentic. They lacked the distinctiveness Jaguar was known for. Existing customers felt the brand was being diluted. New customers didn't see a compelling reason to switch. Instead of broadening Jaguar's appeal, the strategy blurred it. And in luxury markets, blurred identity is fatal. Survival through ownership. When Tata Motors acquired Jaguar, the narrative shifted. Many expected decline. Instead, Jaguar received something rare: time. There was less pressure for immediate volume, more freedom to redesign, more willingness to invest patiently. Design improved, products modernized, and for a moment, momentum returned. Jaguar entered the luxury SUV segment later than rivals. But convincingly, those vehicles brought visibility back to the brand. Sales rose, showrooms filled, optimism returned. But underneath the recovery, Structural issues remained. Momentum without stability. SUVs carried Jaguar's numbers. Other segments continued weakening. Sedans lost relevance. Sports cars became niche. The lineup aged quickly, more importantly. Jaguar struggled to define itself. Was it a performance brand? A luxury lifestyle brand? An electric pioneer? The answer kept changing. As competition accelerated, Jaguar slowed, sales declined again, and financial pressure returned behind the scenes. The brand relied heavily on support from within its parent group. Jaguar survived, but it didn't stand independently. That distinction mattered, because survival isn't success. And leadership knew it. The extreme reset. Eventually, Jaguar reached a conclusion. Incremental change wouldn't work, so they chose reinvention, not gradual. Total existing models would end, production would pause. The brand would go quiet, then return as something entirely different. An all-electric ultra-luxury marque, lower volume, much higher prices. This strategy required enormous financial backing and extraordinary patience. Jaguar had both, but the immediate cost was visibility. Dealers had nothing to sell. Customers had nothing to buy. Public awareness faded, and silence filled the gap. Dealers, customers, and the human impact. Behind every paused production line, there are people. Dealers whose businesses depend on inventory. Sales teams with no products. Customers whose loyalty suddenly has nowhere to go. Many dealers shifted focus to servicing older vehicles. Others leaned on used inventory. But brand energy drained away. Customers who might have waited found alternatives. Because the luxury market never pauses, competitors launched new designs, new technologies, new electric platforms. Jaguar wasn't part of that momentum. And absence slowly rewrote perception. Reinvention without reassurance. During this silence, Jaguar introduced a new identity. New visuals, new messaging, a dramatic stylistic shift. The campaign avoided cars, avoided specifications, avoided performance. Instead, it leaned into abstraction and symbolism. Reactions varied. Some saw ambition. Others saw confusion. But the core issue wasn't design, it was reassurance. Customers didn't know what Jaguar stood for, or when it would return, or why they should wait. Silence creates mystery only briefly. After that, it creates distance. The risk of reentry. Jaguar's planned return begins at the very top of the market. Ultra-luxury electric vehicles positioned well above its historical pricing. This creates a difficult challenge. Luxury buyers value trust, continuity, confidence. Those qualities are built through presence, not absence. Re-entering after a long silence requires more than a bold product. It requires rebuilding belief. Against competitors who never stopped, never disappeared, never asked customers to wait. What this story really teaches. Jaguar's story isn't about failure, it's about assumptions. That heritage guarantees patience, that silence builds anticipation. That reinvention alone creates relevance. Markets don't reward memory, they reward momentum. Transformation requires more than vision. It requires trust, timing, and sustained connection. Jaguar may still succeed. Its future isn't written yet. But the lesson already is. Even legendary brands can vanish from relevance, not through collapse, but through absence. So here's the question worth asking. Was this courage? Or was it confidence without connection? Share your view. Because in the coming years, Jaguar's decision will become either a case study in reinvention or a warning about how quickly legacy fades.